When you were younger and you were growing up, were your parents particularly strict with you? It seemed to me when I was young that my parents wanted to say on everything, especially with the people that I mixed with and associated with. And that's what I want to talk about on today's video, which, by the way, is the second video in a series of 30 that I'm doing in a 30-day challenge. First one was yesterday, so this is the second. And if you're new to the channel, I'm James, and I talk about things generally on this channel that are about advice and encouragement, life stories, and so on. And today's subject is, as I said it was, about the people you associate with. They say that if you look at the 5 people that you spend most time with, well, they're the 5 that you're the average of, the types of people that they are. And when I was younger, my parents seemed to drum that into me about be careful who you mix with, don't get in with the wrong kind because you'll end up like them. I can remember my mum saying, if you mix in with friends who are troublemakers, that's what you're going to become. And I never really got it until I had my own kids. When my boys were growing up, the youngest one, when we lost our home, we were lucky enough and fortunate enough to get another house. Next door, they had a son the same age as my youngest one. And they became a little bit pally. But for some reason, I don't know what it was, there was something I was never quite sure of with this boy. And I have to be honest, I dissuaded my son from playing with him. And I'm glad that I did. Because when this boy was about 15 or 16, he was in a group of boys that beat up a man on a bus stop, and he ended up going to juvenile court and had whatever happened to him. And so it was then I realised that my parents were absolutely right. And even though I didn't understand what they were talking about, when I look back in my life, I've always found someone to associate who's a bit like me. At my age now, I look back over the past, 25, 30 years or so, and the people that I became friendly with are very much like me, in as they run their own business, they try and be positive most of the time, they try to help and uplift other people. And I think that's great, because that's the kind of person that I personally would like to be. And it's not only associating with people so much. The input that you put into your brain works the same with the books that you read, the films that you watch, the TV programs that you watch, the newspapers you read. We get influenced by so many different types of people. And it's important that... Thank you. You're welcome. It's important that you take note of the input that you give to yourself. There is nothing worse, I think, than subconsciously being taken on a trip that you don't want to go on. Being someone who was quite introverted at the time, the thing I found was I wanted people to like me, I wanted to have friends. And so sometimes I didn't make the wisest decisions. But luckily for me, the input that my parents gave me allowed me to realise that sometimes I was picking the wrong friends. And I had this at boarding school when I was in the school looking for a friend, to be honest. I was quite lonely, quite miserable, quite homesick. And there was a group of boys that seemed to be the coolest in the school. And they seemed to be the ones that everyone looked up to. And they were the ones that I wanted to be part of for some reason. And when I got to know them, I found that they weren't actually the people that I wanted to be friends with, because although at a distance they seemed cool and the boys to be friends with, when I did get to know them, I found that they weren't the nice guys that I seemed to think that they were. And they were bullies, and they were nasty, and they weren't good to be around. And for me, I was out of there very, very quickly. And so it's important that you have a strong enough will, I suppose, to not be led by other people. I don't know. I could be wrong. I may be right. But for me, I've always found that if you're looking to have a life in the way that you actually want it, you need to find people who are like you. And I don't mean you have to go out searching. What I'm saying is that you naturally find people in your day-to-day comings and goings. It may be that you meet someone outside the school gates when you're picking your kids up who turns into a friend of a lifetime. It's really important, you know, that you keep yourself on a path that you want to be on. You know your character, you know the type of person you are, and you know the type of person you want to be. And looking back over the years, what my parents said to me about associating with people was so right. Find the right people for you. Find the people that have the morals and ethics that you like. Find the people that you can look up to, that you don't feel lesser than, but they're people you don't mind being friends with. Because I know a lot of people can be led, whether they want to or not, by sarcastic people, by people who are political, if you like, want to be top dog, and they live their lives and their friendships trying to be number one in their group. For me, I never wanted to be number one in my group. I was on the outside looking in most of the time. I'd like to have been part of a group, but the thing was, I found that for me, being part of a group didn't work. I'm very much, like I said, an outsider. I like my own company. Of course I want friends, everybody does. But look at your life. Have a look at the people that you surround yourself with. Ask yourself, do you feel happier when they come in the door or when they go out? If you're happier when they go out, it may be time to decide that they're not the person for you. That's it from me. We're 2 days into the challenge. There'll be a video over there. I'll put yesterday's video in there, just in case you missed it. And we've got 28 days to go. I will see you next time.